Hollywood has a dirty little secret, and today I want to talk about it. It's called geographic discrimination, and it's affected me on every single one of my television and film bookings in my entire career. You can check out my IMDb in the show notes below to see what type of credits I'm talking about. And today I want to do three things. Talk about what geographic discrimination is, why it's so bad, and how we can get rid of it. Or not. Hey everyone, I'm Matt Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, boom, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Hey, we don't have sponsors for this channel, so for this content to stay free, what you can do is like, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video with someone you think might benefit. Okay, let's start with a little definition of geographic discrimination. What is it? Well, let's just use a simple example. An LA-based production, or New York, but we'll stick with LA, is going to be shooting on location in Austin, Albuquerque, or Atlanta. Now, to fill your smaller day player roles, you're going to hire locally, a lot of times to fulfill a tax incentive. However, the pay rate you're going to offer those local actors is going to be less than if you were to cast those same roles out of LA and then fly them into that city. In other words, let's just say that it's a television show that's being cast here in Atlanta, and it's a crime procedural. And in today's episode, they're going to cast a role that is Detective Riggs, and it's billed as a heavy co-star, potentially recurring. But for a role that size that has possibly multiple episodes included, it's going to get a lot of interest, not just from the Atlanta agents and by extension the actors, but also the LA and New York agents. They're going to want in on this. And in the not too distant past, when the LA or New York agents saw the breakdown for this role, it would have actually said guest star and most likely top of show guest star. But the exact same role, when released in the Southeast, would say co-star. And so if they cast Detective Riggs in Atlanta, if they hire me, they will offer me scale only. But if I had an LA zip code with an LA agent, I would be getting guest star billing, guest star pay. Now on to my second point, why this is so bad. I think it's pretty obvious. But the actual geographic discrimination aside, there's another sort of more insidious problem that is hiding behind it, at least here in the southeastern United States. And that is they're not even allowing the actor to negotiate, which technically they're not supposed to be allowed to do. Casting can tell you that it's a tight budget or that for all of the previous roles, they have not been able to negotiate above scale. Yeah, that's fine. But to say in the breakdown of the audition that this will only be offered at scale, do not audition unless you are willing to work for scale. Well, that's just bad faith negotiating. It's actually not negotiating at all. Because for those of you newer to this acting journey, negotiating is not even supposed to start until they have reached out to your agent to offer you the role. Every actor has the right to negotiate their pay based on their experience, their own perceived value, etc. And this has been a particularly touchy subject here in Atlanta for well over 15 years. Many actor friends that I have get really worked up over this, and understandably so. I've been there. And thanks to the hard work of the SAG-AFTRA negotiating committee, this became a national issue during the 2023 contract negotiations with the AMPTP. A big shout out to the Atlanta local SAG-AFTRA president, Eric Goins, for his tireless efforts that he put into the negotiating process last year, and specifically for getting this issue on the table. So wait, Matt, is it fixed? If it was part of the negotiations last year and we won a lot of stuff, right? Is it gone? Is it done? Hardly. See, we did make progress, but the progress wasn't to codify something into the contract that prevents this discrimination from happening. We merely got the AMPTP to agree to sit down and talk about geographic discrimination at a future date. And while that seems weird and ambiguous, it is a big step because it forced the AMPTP to acknowledge that it is an actual thing. And so this opens the door to future discussions and future negotiations. But it means that for the time being, it still exists. Now, I'm sure that some of the parties involved, the producers, would deny that it exists, that they don't do this as a practice. But here's an analogy. Just because tax evasion is illegal doesn't mean that you're all telling the truth on your taxes, right? So flash forward to September 2024, and as a local actor, I and every other Atlanta local or Albuquerque local or Austin local or insert small market are dealing with this geographic discrimination daily. Roles will still say in the breakdown that they will be offered at scale only. And even if your agent still pushes for more money at the time of the offer, it's almost always met with a no, we don't have the budget. And so then you're met with the existential crisis of, do I stand my ground or do I just want to work? Heck, I did a whole video last year on why I personally am worth more than scale for every job that I get booked on. Check it out. And this brings us to the crux of the problem and why it can't just be solved by a Thanos snap of the finger. Well, as long as budgets continue to tighten and as long as Hollywood continues to look at us as the Walmart discount bin of actors, they'll keep hardballing us with this scale-only crap. Pardon my language. And in the producer's defense, the last couple of years of the television and film industry has wreaked havoc on their bottom line. It's their own fault, by the way. For proof, I invite you to check out a video by Adam Conover on how streaming destroyed television. So now the producers have less money to spend, and everything just got more expensive because of all of the gains that we got during the 2023 contract negotiations. So they do have a tiny bit of an argument. But not really, because again, this is an issue that is not new. It's been going on since the dawn of shooting on location. They just have new excuses. And I'll be honest, this can't be fixed easily. I could just vilify the producers, but again, they're just trying to make money and to make their budgets as efficient as possible. And everyone else down the line is complicit in this in some way or another. Hear me on it. So the producers are given a budget by the studio. And so they, in an effort to maximize that budget, are going to only want to pay scale for those smallest roles that are going to be cast locally. Understood. By extension, they then pressure the casting directors in those local markets to only offer those roles at scale and to maybe even say, hey, we don't have the budget for any negotiating above scale. And yes, casting could push back, but they also need job security. If they become too combative with their producers who are their bosses, well, then that doesn't bode well for their future work prospects. So please do not vilify casting. And by extension, the agents are kind of in the same boat as the casting, except they get mad at casting, and now casting's in the middle because producers, who are their bosses, are forcing them into a budget. And now they've got the agents and the managers mad at them for not raising the prices on the offers for these roles. So poor casting gets stuck in the middle. And the agents can't do too much about it. They're not gods. They work for the actors. So in the end, it comes down to the actor and whether or not you're willing to roll over, stand your ground, or potentially lose work. And the actors, well, we roll over all the time. Guilty as charged. It's funny, though, because when they want you, there's always more money. In fact, watch my fellow Atlanta actor, Atkins Estimond, share his geographic discrimination story on TikTok by clicking on the links in the show notes below. But man, standing your ground like Atkins did so admirably is tough. Because we just want to work. We don't want to make this a big, messy negotiation. We, as actors, hate the business side of show business. I mean, I used to be an engineer working in corporate America. Don't miss that one bit. It just brings too much commerce into what should otherwise be a creative endeavor. See, even if you and I hold out and stand our ground for equal pay to the LA actor who is up for the same role, who is going to be offered more money, even if we stand our ground, there are countless, and I mean countless, other actors with less experience and more desperation in our markets that will gladly work for scale. And I get it, actors need to start somewhere. But if the role warrants more money, such that they would offer more money to an LA actor or a New York actor, then it just hurts everyone if any actor settles for that scale-only pay. So while you and I are fighting the good fight, standing our ground, declining that work because they're only offering scale, the producers still get what they want because there's always someone willing to work for scale. Because if the role is maybe not big enough or complex enough to really hire an actor who has chops, then they can just go to their second, third, or eighth choice, whoever is willing to work for scale. And most of the time, they don't have to go to the eighth choice because that second choice, who might be a very talented actor, is sometimes willing to work for scale. Guys, don't point at me. But yes, once again, I've done that. See, but it's just so hard as an actor to know if that role is big enough or if they like you enough such that you do have that leverage to not just ask for more money, but when they say no, for you to then turn down the opportunity, hoping that then they'll come back eventually and say, oh, okay, yeah, here's our counter offer, or yes, we will hire you at that rate. We found the money. Okay, so what's the takeaway? Well, first of all, if you are a SAG-AFTRA member in good standing, then you need to vote. You need to read the contracts. You need to understand what is happening in your industry. And if the topic of geographic discrimination really gets you angry, then you need to be willing to stand your ground the next time you're offered a role at scale and potentially lose that opportunity. And if you're not union and also in a right to work state and eligible to join the union, then consider joining. Because if you're not willing to join and show solidarity with the union, then perhaps you don't have the right to complain. Because in a way, you're doing what the producers are doing, which is squeezing as much value out of something without paying appropriately for it. Now, to all of my actor friends out there that are still non-union, I get it. It's a very personal decision with many different nuances. Heck, I waited a very long time myself before joining the union. I'm just saying that your right to complain about something like geographic discrimination doesn't have much merit until you join the union that has fought so hard for the scale that you're complaining about. Make sense? That's a topic for another day. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set. Hopefully above scale.